We have 2 kids. Our daughter's older, and then our son is the younger one. We actually wanted boys. We wanted 2 boys, and then Evie came along, and I was like, well, this is amazing. We live across the street from a big park, and that's pretty much why we bought the house, is because of the park. We go to the park every single day. We're really fortunate. Ace is very sweet. He's very kind. He's very athletic. And he's very, very bright. He'll do things like the Rubik's Cube. None of us know how to do a Rubik's Cube because that's just impossible. And he sat with YouTube for 3 days, extremely frustrated, and finally figured it out. And he's progressed this skill, and he's got, bigger Rubik's Cubes in different shapes, and he can solve all of them. He's always been a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to academics. It's very black and white and very mathematical, and science, engineering. Yeah, right. The pandemic changed things for us. At first, it was kind of like a vacation because we're teachers, so we're home with our kids. And then it kind of became isolating. We couldn't see anybody.
One of the things that I do remember, especially with the program that we have where the therapists are embedded in the schools, is there was a lot more crisis interventions. A lot of the children were having a really hard time regulating their emotions, whether it would be anxiety related or behaviorally. Our therapists were being called a lot.
Gradually over time, he just became more anxious about his grades, or if he forgot to do a homework assignment, it was like the end of the world. At a basketball game and he missed a shot, he thought that, he lost the game because he missed a shot, and he just couldn't let it go.
The anxiety turned into affecting many, many aspects of his life. He wouldn't sleep alone. We had to move their beds together in the same room so that he would go to sleep. I finally wanted to get in touch with a therapist for him because at nighttime, he would tell me things like he was thinking bad things, and he would tell me what he was thinking, and then these things that are making him sad and these dark nightmares and all of these things. It wasn't getting better or going away.
Sometimes trauma does that. It makes us feel alone. It makes us feel disconnected, either to our caregivers or our community or even to ourselves. If someone is facing a hardship by themselves and no one's acknowledging that this is really challenging, then you start to question, are my feelings valid? And so I feel like that is super important, like for them not to be by themselves so that they can then be able to process what it is that they had experienced. There's validation in it.
I messaged his guidance counselor at his school. She set up a meeting with all of us to go talk to Miss Samantha.
With the integrated services within the school, we do provide those 3 main levels of treatment. So that's the individual therapy for the student, that's first and foremost, and then we provide support through the mental health consultations and the crisis intervention. It helps them with their vocabulary. We're reinforcing language. We want to make sure we're expanding their emotional vocabulary so that they can talk to us about what's going on. To be able to ask for help is super important.
It was very easy. We met with her and immediately liked Miss Samantha. Ace, I could tell she had Rubik's Cubes and she had games. And every Tuesday, we're gonna take him out of aftercare and we'll talk. Everything was done, and I just picked him up from school like we do every day. She was helping us understand him a little bit more and like what was happening. If they were working on something, a coping skill, she would send home, information about it, and so that we would be able to kind of reinforce it while he's, with us. So that I think that was helpful.
If something comes up, they're there. And they already know the history of the child because of the information we've gotten from the parents or their caregivers, which a community therapist who's going into the school may not have that ability to do that. We are one essential component, but we're not the only component in this child's life. We're not in the classroom 24/7 or during the whole school day, right? And we're also not with them outside of the school. So we want to make sure we are collaborating with the teachers, with other staff, and with the parents so that this child can have the support throughout the day, and not just with the 1 hour or the few times that we see them during the week.
He started to calm down, like it wasn't as dramatic, like everything wasn't as serious and dramatic. He would come home with little things for coping. He would still have some moments of the anxiety or whatever he was feeling, but then he would remind himself of what he would talk to with Miss Samantha and was able to bring up these coping mechanisms. Now he's 10. He is going into middle school next year, which, everybody knows it comes along with a whole bunch of new and exciting and scary things. And I feel like he's at a place now where he's going to be able to deal with and cope with and handle many of the situations.
He's back in athletics. He's playing in 2 different flag football leagues. He goes out there, if he drops a pass, he gets right back up and plays the next down. He's definitely coping a lot better with the ups and downs of athletics, and he's having fun. We would never really thought of mental health as an issue, but over the time of growing as parents and our kids getting older, it's definitely become more of an issue that we have to address. I never went to therapy when I was his age, and looking back at it, yeah, I could definitely use some of those skills that he's learned, at age 8, age 9, and I'm in my 40s, and I'm still, learning how to cope with things.
So we want to make sure that every student that's there has access to mental health services. We also want to make sure that we're being preventative. We do see some children who have very adverse childhood experiences, very severe trauma, but there are also children who have test anxiety or who are having a hard time with social skills. And so we want to make sure we're addressing those concerns too, so that they're not becoming something that's impairing their functioning later on. We want to make sure that we're being proactive and giving them those skills and that language and that vocabulary so that they can meet their needs.